just in case we got anyone coming in, but I
Yeah,
don't
the
think we
whistle.
do, so.
We're live. You hear the whistle yet?
All right.
Whistle's 1 minute late.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Leominster Conservation Commission meeting. It is Tuesday, April 25th at 6 p.m. My name is Nick Kremp. I'm the conservation agent. Before we get started, I just want to remind everyone in attendance to please silence any devices or phones that you might have so we don't get interrupted during the hearings. And I will go ahead and take attendance of the commission via roll call. If I could find a, can I borrow that pencil, yours? Thank you. Jim Chambers.
Here.
Mike Seekey.
Present.
Ken Bridlin.
Present.
Bob Seacard.
Present.
And Rich Gullick.
Present.
And absent are Stephanie Quinlan and Chuck Raymond. And with that, I will hand off the meeting to our vice chair, Rich Gullick.
Okay, and just for the record, April 25th, it's 2023.
Yes.
And first thing is we often ask the public if there's any questions outside of the agenda, and I see no one else here other than people interested in the agenda, I believe. So no new hearings on the agenda, so we will start with a continued hearing from our last meeting. So pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family house. The address is View Street, don't have a house number, map and parcel 123-27, DEP file number 199-1174. Someone to speak on that here?
Yes. Yeah,
Please
but-
name and address.
my name is Jim Pimarini. I live at 150 Fire Road 12 in Lancaster. Should I sit or stand?
Whatever you'd like, sir.
Okay. So I'm the applicant, and just a little bit of background. I'm a licensed contractor from years gone by. My intent is to purchase the land and build a house for my daughter and her family.
So you don't own it yet?
I don't own it yet.
Okay.
No. And obviously, once the permit's issued, we're gonna be putting up a Westchester modular house. It's gonna be a split level. Basically, we'll, before the house arrives, we'll have the footing, foundation, all the utilities connected. The sill will be, in place to accept basically two halves of the house. At the end of the day, the house will be together, the gabled ends will be constructed, the roof would be, the house will be basically weather tight. And should take about 30 days after that to complete whatever interior work that we need to do. But it's my intent to have all the, basically, all the finished grading done, before the house arrives. Once the house arrives and, we'll end up, looming and seeding it at that point. Once all the equipment's off-site. And,
So as far as impervious materials, simply the building, the driveway?
yeah, and whatever sidewalks. There's a new plan that Anthony did. He highlighted in red some of the critical offsets as far as where the new hay bales were put in place, the 100-year buffer, the 200-foot riparian zone.
Yes,
It
sir.
kind of intersects the lot.
We appreciate those, thank you, by the
It'd be
way,
a little easy
on
to
behalf
read
of the
through
commission.
that. Right. And I'm here to answer any other questions. It's pretty, it's pretty straightforward. Relatively small lot, simple, single-family house construction.
Okay. When was it ground cleared there?
I'm not sure of the historic details on it. I came to an agreement with, with Kyle, on or about in January, plus or minus.
It had already been clear cut and leveled.
Yeah, there's not been any other work, I don't think, since then.
So that clearing wasn't done by you then?
No, I haven't done any work on the site.
Questions, commissioners?
The plan does say that there is no impervious surface on the lot. Just point it out.
And Nick, it also says that this plan says that the wetlands were delineated by map model, so. On this side, I would assume that delineation is the same for, as it goes down. If he was gonna do one area, I would think that he had done the whole thing.
It's based on the river and so on, I would
Right.
assume you can have faith in the drawing in that regard.
Yeah.
But that's good to know.
Yeah, and the
Mr.
impervious.
Morrow comes in front of the commission office. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm sorry, I just want to address the impervious, you know, you can see on the plan the sidewalks.
Yeah.
Leading to the front side door and
Oh,
then,
no,
and then the driveway.
I just noticed it as
Yeah,
part of
thank you.
the notes.
Yeah, do you know what that refers to, where it says impervious surface on lot none?
It's a mistake.
Okay.
I didn't notice that, but the impervious area is the sidewalk and the driveway.
And that small corner of the roof that intersects, right? Or I guess for the whole lot, the roof would be.
Yeah, the entire, yeah, exactly, the entire roof. It's a split level. I didn't bring a picture of it, but it's a typical, you know, ranch style roof, split engine.
Yeah, the lot, I mean, that part, not the lot, but the building itself doesn't look that big.
It's not,
It's
it's
very
from my
small.
daughter's first house.
Mhm.
She's, living with me right now.
So you're in a
You're a
hurry.
motivated applicant.
I didn't wanna put any pressure on you guys.
Any other commissioner questions?
A quarter of this house and the majority, half of the property is within the riparian zone, 200
Within the
foot riparian zone.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes,
That's where it crosses
That's
that,
the blue
yeah.
blue line.
And we're all good with that?
And that'll be grass there then, which we would want, right, whether he was putting in the house or not, probably, so.
Mhm.
So it moves it toward that.
Yeah, that actually leads to my question. I mean, you're bordering that 100-foot distance from the wetlands.
Yep.
And-
200 feet from the river there, right? And then he's not past the 100-foot line.
Not past the 100-foot line, yeah,
But
that's
it's
that's the
past
200.
in part.
And you don't own the property?
No.
Okay.
not
so-
yet.
So, my major concern is obviously the 28 to 30-foot banking that's been eroded, as you can see it. I've been by it several times. over
Yep, the
last-
hillside,
Yeah.
actually, that'll be addressed in a later part of this meeting. It's
Oh,
not part of
right.
this particular
Oh,
area.
okay.
Right.
This is a separate applicant.
Oh,
For
then
just the
Yeah.
area in green here on that side of the street, that's all this particular hearing concerns.
Okay, so your property lot is
Is the green,
just the green?
right.
Yes.
I'm ultimately gonna buy it from Kyle, I can speak to what's in green right now.
Mhm. Yeah, and just to catch everyone up on the situation here, I think a big part of the reason for the continuation from the last meeting was to try and disentangle some of these, the two lots and the issues involved therein, but I've spoken with Mass DEP and it was my impression going into this, and they confirmed it, that basically these two lots should be treated as separately, like one project cannot and should not affect the standing of another project. She gave me an example even of, I mean, these are two separate lots, but I was given an example of even if there was an order of conditions given for a lot for a single family house, and there was some violation aside from that, that has nothing to do with that other project, that violation can't even tie up the certificate of compliance for the original order, as an example, and that's on the same lot, so these being two separate lots, it's a little more even clearer.
So for now, we'll stay on this side of the road.
Yes.
Then we'll cross the road later.
Understand,
Yes.
I'm caught up.
Okay, just to make clear for everybody,
Yeah.
yes, so.
Any other questions?
No, I think he did say that he was going to do the seeding after the house was situated. There's quite a bit of fill on it now, debris, but it didn't look like it was going anywhere, and even through that rainstorm, it seemed fine. No, I don't have any issues. No.
Yeah, it's a pretty level lot.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it at all.
Nick, do you have a recommendation?
So based on the proceedings of the hearing here and all the site visits that we've had out there, obviously, it's not ideal to come into a situation where the land has been stripped already and there's been machine work on the lot previous to the application. But in any given situation like this, what we would typically do is ask for a cease and desist of further work until the permitting process can work itself out. We're in that permitting process now. No additional work has been done on the lot since this commission has been made aware of it. So based on all that and the proceedings of the hearing today, I would recommend that we approve the order as it's presented in the notice of intent.
Okay. Look for a motion to that regard.
So made.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Ridlin made the motion, Commissioner Ridlin and Commissioner Siki seconded.
Okay, I'll take the rest of the commission to vote by roll call. Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Bob Secord.
Aye.
And Richard Gulick.
Aye.
Alright,
So
so,
it's with standard conditions.
yes, with the general standing conditions that we give to everybody, yep. So the order of conditions with the general conditions is accepted, so.
Okay.
Prior to us closing, when will the road be paved? Is that coming in front of us, a notice of intent?
That would be a separate
Would be
issue,
separate?
because it's, yeah, that's, it's this accepted street, that's city business, or whoever the city allows to do work on that area, so that would be a separate issue.
Okay, there might, in the need, since the current erosion control's on the other side of the road, that might need to move onto their property at some point during what they're doing work. If it's not, if it can't stay there, that won't be an issue, I don't think, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue.
The city does have an existing sewer line going right down the middle of all that, so I don't know what was done when they dug for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure when that was, but we'll get to that one once we.
Mr. Piermiani?
Here, Mary.
Piermiani, sorry, I'm stumbling on that in the first place, but your notice of intent has been approved, there's an order of
Okay.
conditions, that is. Good luck.
Great, I got a couple of other brief questions.
Sure.
When will the order of conditions be issued, and is there an appeal period to it?
So, yeah, the order of conditions, we're obligated to issue it within 3 weeks of the vote, which is today, so we have another meeting in 2 weeks. Typically, I'll get the orders either at that meeting or outside of it, meeting with the commissioners, but I'll get that to you within 3 weeks.
Yep.
Typically sooner, and the appeal period is a 10-day appeal period. It begins starting on the date of issuance.
Okay.
So the date of issuance is, again, that is when I give you, the date that I actually
Right,
give you the order, and that'll be
okay.
reflected on the order.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Luck.
Thank you.
Given that there's only one other person in our audience, we're gonna switch in the agenda and jump on down to item E7, under enforcement, the unpermitted activity on View Street. Map and parcel 123-14-1. Nick?
Alright, so, yeah, we've had, Mr. Carl Demassa has joined us, if you'd like to step up and tell us what you know about the project, and.
Before we do that,
Yes,
if you would you explain why it's on the enforcement agenda and what the communication
Sure.
that's gone between the agent
So,
and
yes.
Mr. Demassa, please? So it sets the stage for his response and presentation.
Absolutely, I think that's a good idea. So I was first contacted by Mr. Demassa maybe a month or so ago. And he invited me out to the site, which is across the street from our NOI hearing on View Street, the undeveloped portion of View Street. And he related to me some of the history of him corresponding with the last agent, Angela Trubusky, about the work that he was interested in doing there. there was another house that was previously built along the street that was just outside of the riverfront areas that did not fall under our jurisdiction, and Mr. Damaso was informed that, by the previous agent. So if you've been there now, you see there's an existing house on that lot. And then he was also informed by the agent that the lot that we're speaking on, I believe it's lot 2 on View Street, and then the lot which we had just discussed on the NOI, he was told that those 2 lots were in fact at least partially in the riverfront area and would need to have wetland permitting. However, he was advised, per Mr. Damasa, he was advised that he could go ahead and clear and excavate, fill the area, prepare the site, as long as erosion controls were put in place at the bottom of the hill between the work site and downslope bordering vegetated wetlands and the Moosonok Brook down there. So he did that, put in silt fences, straw wattle, presented that to Angela. She came and inspected it, approved it, and he proceeded with the work that I described of the clearing and moving soil around in the area.
Is there any written record of any of this?
I've
that
asked
you're aware of?
I've asked Mr. Damasa, and he said that there is not, but this is all just through verbal communication with him.
In my experience with Angela, she
Mm.
was well aware of the 200-foot line and the requirement for notice of intent to be applied to the commission.
Mhm.
Same with the 100-foot buffers. So that news would surprise me that she said that.
Okay,
And
so,
there's
yeah, so,
nothing on the record.
so, yeah, so there
That's
is,
unfortunate.
so there's nothing on the record as far as I've seen. I have not, had a chance to reach out to Angela on this point. I do plan on doing that and asking her if she recalls anything, if she could direct me to any other, record of the conversation. But basically that was the history that I was given by Mr. Damasa, as I recall it. There are erosion controls still on site. There's flagging from before the erosion controls were put in place down there. And yeah, other than that, all I can say is that Mr. Damasa has been very straightforward and upfront with me ever since I got in touch with him. He was the one that reached out to me and made me aware of the situation. And as far as I can tell, he's only been doing what he's been told, as far as I know, so.
The ground was all clear, the vegetation's gone.
Mhm.
It's basically bare dirt with a very, very steep slope. When the commissioners went and visited with you,
Mhm.
there were several gullies where there'd been significant erosion that had knocked down the fence.
Mhm.
After that time, you sent an enforcement order, I believe, to Mr. Damasa. Can you
Yes.
describe that briefly, please? Or
Not-
read it into the record?
Yes, not an enforcement order, but a violation notice.
Thank you for the correction.
Let me pull that up
Still
here.
learning the terminology, I guess. And some questions, which we're hoping to hear responses to tonight.
That's why I'm searching my inbox. My sent. Here we go. Okay, so yes, as Dr. Gulick mentioned, on April 14th, following some of my first visits out to the site with Mr. Damasa, I sent him a violation notice, which I had told him that I was planning on sending, just to address the issue and put something on record. And it's a bit lengthy. I could read the whole thing in if you'd like.
I already mentioned part of it as to what the violation of the law was. How about you go to the questions?
Okay. So I asked him to, in preparation for, I asked him to be prepared to come to this meeting and to let me know if he can't. He told me he could. And in preparation for this meeting, be prepared to provide the following information to allow the matter to be addressed in a timely manner. And those were 5 points. 1, exactly what work has been done to date. Number 2, when was each aspect of work done and where? For example, clearing, excavation, filling, etc. Number 3, who did the actual work on site and with what equipment? Number 4, who owns the parcel in violation? And number 5, please provide any documentation, such as photos, maps, etc., showing the condition of the parcels that being parcel 123-14-1, and the other parcel 123-27 prior to the work in question. And that was it.
Which was ruled out tonight. Okay, thank you very much, Nick, for setting the stage. And with that, finally, Mr. Demasi, the floor is yours.
Where do you want me to start? To answer your first
Answer
question
those
about Jimmy's lot,
questions.
I own all 3 lots,
Okay,
okay?
quick
On
answer.
Jimmy's lot, I did nothing on that lot. The only thing that's on Jimmy's lot, we didn't strip anything. The loom pile came from the street when we cut the road in,
Okay,
and the stumps or whatever, the debris, the trees and stuff is part of that. So his lot was not, we didn't excavate anything, that's only like a storage area for that.
thank
That
you
was
for
it.
the information.
Okay, then the road, we ran the sewer up. There again, I didn't know I had to call anybody. The city knew we were running this sewer up. There again, I don't know. I brought him in to find out, cause everybody's telling me I'm doing something wrong, so I said, well, this is what I did. So originally Angie came out, I told him today, she went down to the edge of the water, we ran 100-foot tape. She says, don't go any further than this. She says, don't go past the ridge. We have a ridge at the top, and then the silt fence was at the bottom. She said, don't put the silt fence in till you cut the trees. Then
Were
we
trees
start
cut on the
excavating.
slope? Were trees cut off of the slope?
Not really, they were on top of the, she told me not to go any further than the, ridge. So there's nothing on the slope.
Want to point out,
That's not on there.
It's not on
There's
there.
not much
I don't know
vegetation
when I
on the
did-
slope other than there's a few good sized trees,
Yeah.
but not many there.
So, and then I went to work, I did all that I did. And then when I came in, like I said, I dragged him into the picture and said, okay,
When you
Look
started
at
the
it
work,
different.
was it grassed up there or just
there was
scrub?
no, there was more, it was trees, good sized trees.
Okay.
Originally, my father owned greenhouses up there. The whole site was greenhouses, and he subdivided everything. And the last 3 lots, he never did anything with. When I got there to start this whole thing, like I was telling him earlier, I removed, it was like a dump site for this area. Everybody in the area brought their trash, their leaves, their tailing, whatever. I got rid of a snow blower, a couple lawnmowers, tires, box spring mattress, wheelbarrow, and a lot of just debris. So most of that came out of there. And then, the stumps went, the loom went, and we graded it up. The material from the top of where we built the building at the top, ended up down there, and that's where we are right now.
Yeah, I can't obviously speak for what she said, but that activity within the 200-foot zone was not legal without authorization.
And I'm here and,
So,
yeah, and I'm good. I mean, tell me what I gotta do to make this go away. I did what I was told to do, the hay bales, the silt fence and all that stuff, the tailings to stop the erosion.
thank you for coming tonight. Commissioners, thoughts, questions?
Well, thoughts are, I will say that when we went over there today, I was pleasantly surprised at the work that had been done. The erosion controls were repaired and improved, I believe. The ridge was reinforced with some gravel tailings to stop future erosion. I'm assuming, did you put up the erosion controls in front of that lot as well?
Yeah, I did it all.
So those were immediately put up. So, you know, my feeling is, you know, a lot of these, I'm guilty of it too, out of sight, out of mind. Things happen. It was done a long time ago. I don't think what we want to do is find a solution for the problem today, not what happened in the past, you know, because that does us no good. It really does us no
Understood.
good. And after looking at what Mr. Demasi did to improve the controls, I think he did a really good job. He did it quickly. He came to us with the problem, which I think is a very good sign, because some of these, you know, they can be confusing. He came to us today and discussed several alternatives. to the bank. To me, the big issue is the bank stabilization. We've gotta get the bank stabilized. And that could be using, loam and seed, which I don't think is a good solution. Or riprap, he offered. But, Mr. DeMassa owns a company called STI that does residential, commercial, industrial, and I think government stormwater control, work, and has engineers on site, so, I would say our best solution to stabilize the bank, which is my concern, is to have Mr. DeMassa use the experts that he's got on his staff to say, what is the best long-term solution now that we find ourselves in this situation? And get it repaired. I mean, the first thing is let's get what is economically viable and the best stabilization mechanism for that particular situation and get that taken care of, and we can have discussions about what happened in the past after that's done. But, you know, I think, I'll just say, I think I was pleasantly surprised today at the work that was done. I was pleasantly surprised at Mr. DeMassa's attitude towards, I wanna fix it. So that's all I can say.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think it's unfortunate that, you know, there's nothing on the record. And this has become a comedy of errors. The city knew what Mr. DeMassa was doing up there. Nobody came to the Conservation Commission.
When you say the city, sir, please be specific.
Well, DPW had to know that they were putting in a road and putting in sewer. I mean,
Connecting to a sewer.
I don't know anywhere in the city of Leominster where you can just go put in a road and connect the city sewer without DPW at least being aware of it, okay?
Planning commission.
So, I mean, it's just unfortunate, none of this was documented, but I will mirror, what Commissioner Cheeky has said about Mr. DeMassa's response to this. We went to him and he immediately put up the necessary erosion controls, and he addressed the situation. He's here tonight, and you know, we've discussed on site some possibilities of stabilizing that bank, and I think that given Mr. DeMassa's history and performance on other projects in the city, I don't think it's gonna be an issue at all. I think that property is gonna be stabilized. I mean, I'm not happy about the location, but don't get me wrong, because it does border the Moonsnot Brook.
Well, one thing to think about is whether or not you would have approved something here if it was just woods and grass. I would hesitate to just approve things because somebody has already started to work in violation of the law. It's a tough precedent to set for people to come into us and say, well, I've already started and I've spent money and I've cleared the land. Well, now you wanna have us do something so we can protect the environment.
Right, but the
Because of
question,
what we've done.
And that's a valid
So you
point.
do need to look at it, to me, separately in that sense, but balance, as Michael's saying, still balance the practicality of things. And keep that as part of the discussion.
but the question is, did he know that he was violating the law when he was doing it? And I think that's, you know, you're never gonna be able to.
It is not necessary, we can't use that, sir, I don't believe, in my opinion, as our criteria for whether or not people that need to follow the law. We do need to do a better job of publicizing this law, but the law is the law, and it is their responsibility. You've mentioned his long record of development in the city. I would assume with all that development, sir, you might have heard of the Wetlands Protection Act and some of these requirements. Or maybe you just never got near water in any of them. But it is unfortunate, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total comedy of errors. I mean, you know,
I would like to just say one thing in light of the recent conversation that Mia McDonald from Mass DEP told me in her advising me on the situation, and she mentioned that enforcement orders, which we have not gotten to, I've only issued the violation notice, but the point of enforcement orders, which would be the next step if Mr. DeMassa would continue to be out of compliance, is the purpose of enforcement is to bring a property back under compliance. It's not necessarily meant to be a punitive measure. So
Yes.
I understand I'm frustrated with the situation too, but I just wanna throw that out there. I found that very clarifying, and we should just keep that in mind, that our goal here is to bring the site into compliance and do what's best
And that was my
going
point,
forward,
was
as
to-
Mike said, yeah, dealing with the situation that we have today. So that's all, just
With,
wanted to
with
throw that out.
alternate means of compliance, which may or may not involve construction.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Commissioner Chambers, any thoughts, questions?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I missed the visit today, but, I just noticed the existence of the, storm drain easement and sewage easement, so there is, I assume there's been, disturbance to the soil and stuff along that whole.
It's all bare dirt.
Mhm.
Most of the embankment, other than a few good trees at the bottom, half dozen or so on one side, most of it's just all
Is
bare.
the pipeline marked or anything?
That easement, I think, is, that's an existing easement.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's been there forever.
No, I'm not arguing that, I'm just saying, does it impede any, you know?
No, you can't see it. It's buried.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I don't think that storm drain is operational at this point. And I think it is, but it isn't all, it's piled with dirt though, there's no way for any.
Oh, no, no,
stormwater-
that's just, that pile of dirt's just on top, so nobody hit it, plowing snow. No, that.
But there's no way that stormwater can get into the drain is what I'm
It's a
saying.
drain, it's only a drain manhole, there's no catch basins there.
Okay,
It's not a catch basin.
that's what, that's.
Yeah, it's not a catch
so-
basin, it takes all the hill, it takes everything from View Street, Grandview, Daly, and goes into.
You know,
To your point, Commissioner Chambers, if you go to the site and you look at this sewer easement, you will find the remainder of the sewer, take the sharp right-hand turn and parallels Newsnack Brook. You can see the manholes there.
In the brook.
Right, yeah, and then it comes very close or crosses the brook. So, you know, and that was put in, I don't know, back in the 50s or 40s or whatever.
And that services the school, high school, doesn't it?
Yes.
Takes care of all.
Both of my
We just-
properties have
we did
the
that
sewer
job
running right
about 10
to
years
the
ago.
backyard. And that's
They
within,
relined all of them.
that's within 10 or 15 feet of the
does
brook.
that storm drain discharge to the river?
Yes.
Yes.
The stormwater.
Yep.
Sewer line runs all the way down.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the distinction,
I didn't see where the discharge was from the storm drain. Is it buried right now?
It's straight down, no,
Yeah, you can
it's,
see a cover on it, if you
Yeah.
look hard. Yeah, I see.
At the bottom of the banking?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
missed it.
no, in the water,
It's in the
way up in
water.
the water.
It actually discharges into the brook proper? Okay. Oh, is that metal thing that's
Yeah.
sitting out there? Okay, I didn't miss that, I thought it was a.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
Commissioner Chambers? any other
That's all, thank you.
does that discharge comply with the water runoff?
stormwater,
Yeah.
stormwater. Well, this is residential, I don't know if it's,
You have to ask
Yeah.
DPW.
They held them.
It's all,
They
yeah.
held up.
and that's been,
Yeah.
that's been
Every one of
existing
them.
since forever.
Commissioner Seaguard, any thoughts, questions?
They all do, right?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. Well, my first concern was the banking, but I'm thinking of, was something said about Matt Laura coming in and delineating the wetlands
Yeah.
originally?
Yeah, he did.
What's the date on that? What approximately do you know, Mr. Delasa?
It's on the plan, 2022, June of 2022.
Did you have him come in here and?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was aware of the wetlands and had that former commissioner come in and delineate that, so. And there is a tree line drawn on that, is what, 447.
The fact they're drawn on there is part of the reason I don't fully accept the
Yeah.
lack of knowledge of the law, cause the borders are right here on the map.
Yeah.
For a different project, but the same owner.
I think I understand both sides too, and my main concerns are twofold, and that is the slope and the amount of material there, and what I've seen we hit the top of the TV, Leominster, 2.27 inches this week.
We did.
Um,
It was a soft rain, it wasn't a hard driving rain.
You're
That's where
right.
you usually get your major erosion.
Which is my
and
concern.
detachment.
some places get 25 inches. You know, we can't handle that in this part of the country, but I'm worried that we may get hit with something like that, a terrible storm or something like that. And I guess the big concern I have, again, is the stabilizing the banking and as soon as possible, and the barriers have been violated a couple times down there. I think I'd like to see better policing of that, especially after a storm, because you can see the siltation is broken through two places of the
We
barriers.
fixed that.
Okay.
Yeah. And after this storm, we had no problem.
And I don't really have a worry that it'll be totally addressed now at this point. I would move forward on, you know, taking care of our concerns now, and I wouldn't look back for, if he had already had a capable person come in and delineate that, then he knew what to do and how to do it, and the siltation fence was there. It's just now following through and taking care of it from here on in, and I don't have any problem that you won't do that at this point.
Bob, it was Matt Morrow who did the wetland delineation. Matt is a wetland scientist and he's been before this commission many times.
I know who Matt is, he's in my parish, but.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to establish, is that Carl didn't just do this on his own, without consulting somebody first off. He may have not known all the facts about, you know, the Wetlands Protection Act and I guess the protocol through Nick in the city. The protocol through the Department of Public Works, I don't know what's going on. I mean,
It's this applicant's, well, not applicant, excuse me, but it's any individual's who's gonna do these type of activities. It's their responsibility to understand the law. The hiring of Mr. Morrow to do those delineations implies that knowledge. That's a business he's in, is because of that law. So, if I may make another.
Yeah, I'd like to, and I do agree with you, but if Mr. Morrow, and very capable, came in and did this delineation, obviously Angela was involved in that.
Not necessarily, sir.
No,
Well, not in the,
And he says
not
no.
with the wetlands delineation, but if she was involved in the project from that perspective after this delineation was made, and everything was brought to Mr. Damas's attention, then, you know, I find it hard to believe that he would purposefully violate it. I think there's some middle ground
It's
here.
possible there's a miscommunication in some sense. What Mr. Damaso understands or recalls may not be what was expressed by her, nor did she necessarily express it. This is
Documented,
definitely, you know, I worked with her for long enough to know that she knew these limits.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
expressed them, that there has to be commission action. So that's just counter to everything else I saw from her. Even though there's been some things we, you know, maybe would have wanted different. I'd like to make a suggestion, because this is not an actual.
Can I just ask?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Damasa, how is it that you got Matt Morrow involved in this?
well, Matt came in after everything was done. I didn't do anything after,
I would like to, because I'm hearing some
That's
things
after
that,
yeah,
He did that after, for what purpose then?
because, the waterhead was further away.
Was it dry time?
Yeah,
It
so,
was in June.
we had it done again, to make sure wherever I was,
But why'd you hire him? Just,
to find out where we were, because originally, when I took
based on
Angie
what
out there,
Angie saying?
I got the 100, yeah.
Okay, well, let's continue to a suggestion if I may. So this is not a hearing or anything at this point in time, right? It's just you've been notified of the particular violation of the Wetlands Protection Act. We greatly appreciate your coming in. If I may suggest, obviously the commission is concerned with the stability of that slope, detachment of soils down into the wetland and to the river. So we would like to see a plan, I would guess, if I may suggest that you come back to us in 2 weeks, or next meeting, it's 2 or 3 weeks, first meeting in May, and bring us ideas, either a professional plan or some kind of plan to how you're gonna bring this back into compliance, which would also involve at some point in the near future a notice of intent of what activities you're gonna do. And that could be restabilizing, replanting grass, it could be building a house, whatever you wanna include in that notice of intent. But we're gonna want to see different erosion control, meaning vegetation, so grass, slope vegetation, maybe some type of slope stabilization, but I would leave it to you as to what to suggest first. Commissioners, any
Chairman
thoughts on
Newark,
that?
are you asking Mr. Demas to file an NOI
There's a,
on this site?
the activity needs a notice of intent.
Yes, I agree.
He's already behind it, so yes, he would need to do that. That could include this plan, so that could be part of it. In doing the notice of intent, you can bring up that you wanna have a house built there, or that you're gonna build a park, or whatever it is you plan to do, you can propose. Whether the commission accepts within our jurisdiction is another
So for
question.
the next meeting, you want that,
Notice of intent.
notice of intent, and
The
whatever
plan
I
is the
can
key
do
part.
to make the
The
stabilization happen.
Part and parcel of the one.
Commissioner C.
Wouldn't this warrant an emergency order of conditions to stabilize the bank? Put together a plan to Nick right away, to say this is what we'd like to do to stabilize the bank.
I disagree.
Well,
Only because the bank has been in the condition that it's been in since 2022, number one.
oh,
It's not an
it's
emergency.
lost a lot of dirt. We saw the gullies in there the other day.
Right.
Yeah, but it hasn't gone past it went past, it never got to the water. It
It's
did
there,
bring-
it's
it
much
did-
closer, sir, and it's
No, no,
gotten into the
No,
the
we
resource
fixed it, we
area.
fixed where it broke, but I'm saying where it broke through, the dirt or silt never went past.
We
about
don't want
6
it
feet.
getting down that far either.
Oh, no, I'm with you
So-
100%.
So
And we
let's,
fixed
go ahead,
it.
sir.
I don't, I agree that the bank needs to be stabilized, but does it really call for an emergency order of conditions?
I was trying to avoid that.
Well, I was thinking that it was just gonna offer an opportunity to get it
Well-
stabilized faster than
But-
sooner rather than later.
In the same amount of time that it takes to file an NOI and get a plan in place,
I'd inspect anything before the next meeting.
Right.
I would also like to see if it's possible, there were some erosion control wattles placed along the top part across the road in this section
Yeah.
for this property, but the person doing that did not, nor would, upon request from our agent, put any others at the top of the hill. I wanna see berms at the top of the hill more than I do at the bottom to protect what's above
They
the
are at the
hill
top of the hill.
to come,
Along the top of the.
There are gravel
Where-
tailings.
not just the top of the hill, but along the top of this property up here. Nick could show you where it is. There's a berm that's let me see if I can show you. There's a berm that comes up to here, and it really should stretch over this way. Cause all of this land has no protection until it gets to barriers that can be
Okay, so you
broken
want like
past as
halfway
we have
down.
seen. So I'd like to see
Halfway
that
down.
one continue
Yeah, I got you.
further up, and I think Nick has an idea of that. And we can't order you to do that without issuing an enforcement order, but you've seemed
I'm here,
very
just tell me what
cooperative.
you want done.
These guys, some of the commissioners have vouched for that, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to proceed in that fashion.
Yeah,
and-
no,
And hear what
whatever.
you have to say in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yeah, so let me know where.
Commissioner Seacard?
Yeah, I'm just trying to forward thinking here and help this along, because I imagine at some point there is going to be a road that'll turn on that land property in front of his house,
Correct,
Jim's house.
correct.
And I seen a couple serious cuts up the top, just because of the amount of rain that came down, that maybe if we take into account the slope of that on your plan and channel like a riffraff down there, and also plant, native trees at certain spots too to hold that banking back, and I think you'll be okay.
I'm thinking planting anything
Commissioner?
on the sewer line, the drain line.
I have a question about the road. As the developer, are you responsible for paving the road, or is the
I
city?
don't have to do anything. The sad part is the city of Leominster accepted the road back in '49.
Who's building the road?
I am.
Okay,
I am finished.
then the road would need a notice of intent to be
No, hear
constructed.
me out, hear me
right?
out. The road's an accepted road in the city of Leominster, unimproved. It was a stupid,
To do the activity, it needs to have a notice of intent and be approved, so you're getting fair warning on that one.
no, no,
right? Doesn't
I'm
it?
good with,
I think he's just explaining the
I'm
background
just
of the-
explaining the background of the whole stupid thing.
Okay,
So,
so
anything you need done,
we
it's
give you some
technically
ideas.
the road, the city's road. So, I can ask for it, but is it the city's problem?
Include it in your notice of intent.
Okay,
As
that's
part of the rest of the work. It's been taken bare, we assume that as your responsibility, you own the property where the road is?
No, yeah, no,
Okay.
no, the road's the road. The road is owned by the
That's
city of
city
Leominster.
property
City owns
now.
it.
The road's public street.
You know,
Okay,
city
so
owns the road.
then I.
So, Mr.
It's
Devon,
screwy, that's what I mean.
so, yeah, Mr.
One at a time, please, guys.
If I may say, Mr. Namasa has told me in the past, as he's started to say here, I think, he's not required to
Right.
do the paving of the road there, but if that is required, you've said before you'd be willing to do that potentially on the city's behalf.
Yeah,
We're
done
just, I think
Done it.
what Dr. Gulick is trying to make clear is that whoever does that work, when the road gets paved, that needs to be included in.
We'll add it all in together.
The city,
That you can do.
the Conservation Commission cannot require Mr. Damas to pave that road.
No,
It is,
Oh, we're not.
it belongs to
Yeah.
the city of Leominster and it's unimproved. What he's suggesting is, as part of his total project, he's gonna do the improvements the city failed to do in 1948 or 49.
That sounds
when the road
fine,
was
that would
accepted.
be part of the notice of intent.
Right.
All
We'll
the
add it
encompassing,
all in.
like to see a plan for erosion controls at the top and, the slope and so on. Commissioner, yeah.
Thank you, and that was my point, if it is to be a road, that certainly needs to be engineered as part of the erosion control and the,
Yes, everything on this side of the green
Right.
on the map.
That's what I was
Covered
trying to
the
get
green.
at.
right.
It is a road.
I understand it's a road,
Right now, it's an erosion spot, 'cause it's
but if
bare
it were to
under
be
the top.
paved, I'm not saying it has to be paved, but if it were to be paved, that could be an engineering part of the, water flow control.
Right, like you treat
You
it
would
like-
have curbing and stuff that would prevent water from going over
You
it.
treat it like any other impervious surface in any other project, that's.
Correct. Okay,
um,
yes, Nick?
so I would like to suggest how I think we should proceed with this, as you mentioned, I would love for you to come back here in the next meeting, which is gonna be May 9th, with, some kind of erosion control plan, short term, for the site to help stabilize it. And in the meantime, get working on an NOI application, but the filing deadline for the next meeting on May 9th, it was this past Friday on the 21st.
Yeah.
So the earliest you could get in, considering DEP needs time to review and issue their comments and their number, would be for the following meeting on May 23rd.
For the notice of intent.
For the notice of intent, yeah, so I'd like to see erosion control plan for May 9th, and then get started on the work for the NOI, get that in by the filing deadline. Let me check that. For the second meeting in May would be the 23rd, so the filing deadline for that would be May 5th, so next Friday.
May I okay. Which
May
we
I-
may not get to, but let's work on the plan. You
May
can work-
I,
Yes, sir.
Line,
just,
send me a.
I will
Commissioner
send all
has-
this.
Gentlemen, the commissioner has the floor here, please.
just one comment. I think we all agree as a commission that the bank stabilization is an extremely important component of
Yes,
this.
yes.
Given the timelines we have seen of filing a notice of intent and getting the DEP comments, this could be weeks. And hence why I said mentioned emergency order of conditions, to get that bank stabilized. The rest of everything I think is fine, but that bank, if we do get a big storm, it could be trouble. So just as long as we're all aware that, given the DEP response times have been lacking, we could be out weeks and weeks and weeks. And maybe that's no issue because it's been that way for a while, but we
Do
could
you,
show a
do you
certain.
wanna see a plan within less than 2 weeks?
I would like to see a plan that we could approve without the DEP conditions, and that, the only way I know to do that is an emergency order of conditions.
So, okay, I would like to see or suggest at least a conceptual level plan. You know, no more than 10% design when you come back to us, so that we can give input on this. Maybe, if we can do site visits, if that's allowed, you know, within our rules. And as a group and talk about some of what you're initially proposing, but go consult with folks who know how to do some of this. We, as the commissioner says, we really wanna get worked on that stabilization here as soon as
Whether
possible.
you wanna go out, I don't know,
Well, we need.
where's the
we need
real job? We can all go out.
Sir, we need a
anytime you want.
proposal from you in regard to what would be done. We're not the design engineers, that's not our responsibility to do. We need you to suggest things and then we can comment on it.
Okay,
Fair enough?
that's 2 weeks you want me to, so you
If-
wanna wait the 2 weeks?
Not necessarily.
No.
I would like to have it back in an hour, but that's not gonna happen, plus there's a Celtics game, so we're gonna move on. But no, seriously, the sooner you can, the better.
Okay, alright,
That this is not a
Yeah.
good situation, what was done there is in violation, and we wanna have it corrected.
alright, so if I have
And then you
something to
can
put
run
together,
it.
we can all meet there?
Sure.
So, I would suggest get an erosion control plan together by the next meeting at the latest, and I will send you a follow-up email with all these dates and everything, cause I know it's a lot to take in at once here. But get an erosion control plan together by the next meeting at the latest, and depending on what that plan consists of, you know, for example, like you put the tailings in, there's been some work done on the site that we had advised him to do that didn't involve any enforcement order or whatever. We are the body that enforces these rules and things, so the only people he would be getting in trouble with conservation-wise for doing this work would be us.
Right.
If the work is to stabilize is extensive enough, then I would have no problem issuing either an emergency order or an enforcement order just to get that permitted and on some sort of a paper trail for us. Just so we don't get anyone coming after us and saying, well, why are you relying on all this with no paperwork, right? So get that erosion control plan in place. Depending on that, we may issue an enforcement order to allow you to do that under some sort of permitting. If it's a more minor work, then I'm okay. Depending on what the commission decides, I'm fine with just verbally, you know, saying, you know, go ahead and do that work and continue on working with the NOI. Yeah, that's.
We would be more informed at the next meeting to issue an order of enforcement, I believe, including a plan and maybe emergency order, excuse me if I'm getting the wording wrong.
Yeah.
And we do need to get the ideas first from them.
Yes.
And some of, there could be back and forth in the meantime, between the next 2 weeks, so we can move this as fast as possible. And if we don't end up needing the enforcement order, fine, if everything gets done. But this, my guess is this will be a fairly significant project for that slope side. That is a problem, it's gonna take some substantial work to rectify. That I would believe the commission might want completed prior to any initial construction of anything else that
Oh, yeah. that would be-
is the final
yeah.
purpose of the project.
Oh, I'm good with that.
Okay, so we good? We got marching
Yeah.
thoughts?
Good game to watch.
Very good. Okay, I think we'll move on to the next item in the agenda. Mr. Damaso, thank you for your time tonight, sir.
No problem, thank you guys.
Thank you, and I will be sending you all that information, so.
Okay.
Okay, good discussion.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming in.
everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, moving back to new business. One thing under new business, not on the agenda, is the Leominster Conservation Commission litter pickup day.
Oh,
We're doing we're joining in on, how does it Leominster call it? The Leominster cleanup. It goes
State of
on for
Massachusetts, I think.
most of the month, the whole state, but that's our part of it.
Spring cleanup?
So we have already signed up as a group through the city as one of the participants, and they give out T-shirts for people to wear that are very nice and visible for the traffic that we'll encounter.
So we can go clean up that area of all those
We are,
bottles.
and that's the spot we're gonna
Wow,
pick. The name of the road is Mike
Orchard Hill.
Orchard Hill Park
Road.
Drive.
Are you gonna bring your
I
trailers
think
so
it's-
we can pull
guys,
those 55 gallon
extra.
drums out?
Now, what we're gonna do, So I've already talked to the city a little bit about that, and so they provide t-shirts and big bags and gloves for us. Give me one sec. And also, we will pick up, bag all the trash, pull the drums up, and we'll be very careful environmental chemical handling people. But they will transport the drums and all the other things. So when we get to the drums, we'll find out if they're empty or what the deal is. It'll be pretty gentle, okay? But we'll get trash from off the side of the road and from all those little bottles.
Excellent.
And we're gonna want big rakes and some shovels. Mike had volunteered to truck, but we don't need that. We'll focus on letting DPW, Department of Public Works, will pick up this type of trash for all of the communities doing this. So the other night at Tuesday, we had thought of having folks sign up when they came to our table, but a lot of them were already signing up for their own neighborhoods, which was great. So we as
Didn't want to
commissioners.
discourage that at all.
No, so we didn't steal volunteers.
Take it one step further and,
What's
I mean, there's trash out there. Should we put all the plastic bottles and everything in separate containers so that they can be recycled instead of disposed
We
of?
can attempt to,
I think that would be great as a.
within reason.
If they are recyclable, you know, that's,
The aluminum, the plastic, they're having problems with
Yeah.
recycling.
We'll only wanna do so much touching of this. Me, I intend to touch it with my rakes, okay? So just keep in mind the personal safety versus the environmental aspect of things. And there is a syringe there. Commissioner Chambers,
there is a syringe there?
just one.
I'm sure you have.
Commissioner Ridley brought up these drums, I'd like to know a little bit.
There's
As
two
an
drums.
environment, there's only two?
Did
Yeah,
you-
open
were you-
plastic.
Were you present on that site inspection?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, Bob and I.
I understand
drums.
that, and I just wanna
Yeah,
ask
yeah,
you the
move.
question,
Yeah.
I wasn't present. They're eroded, any idea what was in them?
No labels.
No, you didn't, you guys didn't move them, did you?
I did.
Well, we moved them.
Oh, you
I did,
touch
I
it.
physically went in
Oh, I
and
didn't
moved the
realize.
barrels.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to see if they had something in it, if it was gonna be obvious if it was full or it was partially empty. But when I moved them, water came out. I didn't see oil steam or nothing.
Okay, as a matter of business, I recommend that you do not touch barrels.
They need to be touched and gotten out of that environment.
They do, but not,
DPW can do them, or we can move them with gloves on and
No.
gear and.
no, cause you have to test what was underneath those.
Commissioner Chambers, I ran an organic chemical plant for 35 years.
Actually, I didn't touch them, I kicked them.
So I think, you know,
I've handled many a drum in my career, but.
yeah, you know, we're not gonna get out of
To,
here.
to his point, some nasty stuff comes in drums.
Right.
Yes,
If
and
there's any
DPW
indication
needs to
that
be aware of the
there's
potential
something
of
in there
this.
that we shouldn't be moving, then we won't move.
And if you're at all nervous about it, when we get there, we'll leave them there and let DPW come deal. That work, Mr. Chambers?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe,
Any concern? Back off.
I appreciate the point of caution, for sure, definitely.
I do too personally, because, you know, I've lived that career for many, my whole life, actually. We could get a,
Organic, a PDA,
that's exactly what I was gonna get, I have one actually, and, that ain't the only thing I was thinking of, you know, there's ways to approach him, and he is perfectly correct in not even seeing it,
I'm
the
sure.
right avenue to follow.
Mhm.
And I agree. However, it brings me down all to my safety things. Okay, we got ticks.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody, all of us know how to identify poison ivy, right?
Mhm.
When we get started, we can, if you care, you can lead a little safety, minute for us, right?
You
Before
want
we
me
get
to
started.
write a JSA for this job?
Yeah,
Job
please-
safety analysis?
Please spell out your acronyms.
I already have Lyme disease, so it ticks them up.
That would be great.
So we'll follow up on that as we get
Oh,
closer
stuff like
to it.
little 60, little tip
Ba-
right into the bird thing.
Based on Stephanie being the one person who had came forward and offered dates, the only one that fit of hers that fit within the window of the city's cleanup was Sunday, May 7th. So we're going with Sunday, May 7th, fair
I
enough?
think we better give her a good job, though.
Oh, yeah,
I don't,
she'll do whatever, it's up to her.
She can move the barrel.
She can do her own restrictions.
Says you're
as so
right,
needed.
yeah.
All right, so what
You
are we
know,
gonna do?
just-
Just gonna meet
just
out here on the 7th?
We'll get out details by then.
Another note, I can get Steve Powell, who owns Powell's right down the end of the street, to send a small excavator up there to grab those things, if we feel the need.
Yeah, well, we'll leave the liability with the city, by and large, I think is the best thing to do for us as commissioners. And not put that, if we're that concerned, not put it on somebody else unless it's a
DPW
professional
will pick them
organization.
up though.
If we're that concerned, yeah.
Will DPW pick them up?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was already, at least according to the folks downstairs, I was told that.
Good.
Can I ask a question on this?
Yes.
The lands that the barrels were located on, I know some of that is, you know, the shoulder of the road, but
Yeah. it's outside
eventually we
the
get
right of way.
into, yeah, private land, and that's
Yep.
owned by Pioneer Drive LLC, which I think is Greg Lascotti.
Mhm.
Have you spoken with him, or?
No, I wouldn't know who the owner is, but I'll end up working with I guess I'll lead this effort, because nobody else volunteered, so I left to the by default. And I'll
Yes.
work with our conservation
Yeah.
agent to figure out any permission.
That's it.
Commissioner Siki has already volunteered to bring some traffic cones, so we're gonna deal with traffic concerns.
That's
I have
a
a
good
couple
point,
too.
I think
You know?
those drums are outside of the city right away.
I think they're
They're on
definitely
private property.
in that parcel, yeah. So I can,
So we'll see, we'll wanna get permission to pick up litter on the private property.
Or have Greg come down and grab
They're his.
them. There it is.
yeah, he
Okay.
He probably put them in.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Mr. Lascotti and, get that permission.
More to come, it's a week
Yeah.
from Sunday, so, what, 11 days or so.
He's a good
12
guy, and I
days.
bet you if we tell him we're gonna be working down there, he'd send some of his folks down to help
Do
us.
we get a vote in this, or
And
we
it-
just
we-
have to show up?
You show up at any good time, 1 o'clock, is that?
Yeah, we should set it up. Well, you said you're gonna.
It's gonna be Sunday, May 7th, but what's a good time for you guys?
Well, that's good.
I like one.
That'll work.
So I
I
don't
mean,
know
how,
if you're
it's
really.
not gonna take us that long to clean that area up.
We're gonna go a couple hours and maybe we'll go for pizza and something after,
Sounds
so,
good to me.
okay? So plan it as we'll do a social thing, get to know each other.
So you already preemptively voted us all in?
Yeah, you just, if you wanna go, you go. I've got 2 volunteers so far, Mike and Stephanie.
Might I suggest an even,
No, you,
could an even earlier time work? I'm just thinking in terms of the weather, and
Yeah.
we could get an unusually hot day that day, it might be better to.
could, I'm
So
trying to avoid church time if some folks are at church.
Okay.
Sorry,
yes.
Yeah, that's,
I'm not,
Yeah, no, that's
that's
fine.
usually part of why I do that.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay.
But we, you know, we don't be set in stone, does noon work?
When is,
Does noon work for everybody?
sure.
that's fine.
Maybe noon? Okay, noon or 1, you'll
You're
find
right,
out.
that's okay.
That's May 7th, right?
We could do
Yes.
one, I mean, I'm not trying to, we could do one, I'm just a suggestion, but I didn't think about,
Well, it's the back and forth.
yes, yeah.
I had thought of the warmth too, but it's only May 7th, so.
Yeah.
Okay, next item on our, that'll be fun to do and hopefully become a tradition for us. Okay, some old business, it's not really old.
Hopefully they won't continue to throw things down, maybe we'll have to go back and make it a tradition.
We'll find
That's
out.
another story.
We may end up talking to the city about a new sign up there that points to that or something.
I'm sorry, before we move on, did we settled on 12 then, is that
I'm good with anything, you guys.
You can count noon for now,
noon, okay,
until we send out the actual time.
okay, yes.
It's
Could you
needed.
put PPE on that too? Suggested PPE on that email too?
Yes.
Yeah, when we organize it, yeah.
Okay.
PPE. Okay, it's not old business, but go ahead, spring wildflower hike coming up.
Yeah, so just, last little blurb for the next wildflower, or the next conservation-led hike is gonna be the spring wildflower hike at Johnny Appleseed State Park, which is a very unknown location. It's gonna be, the best way to get there is go to, 1000 Lancaster Road. It's the family center down there. Babe Ruth Fields are right down there. You drive through the family
Old
center.
Italian American.
1000 Which Road?
Yes. 1000 Lancaster Road.
Lancaster.
It's road, not street, right?
Lancaster Street, yes.
Lancaster Street, 1000 Lancaster Street. Drive through the family center parking lot to the parking area behind Babe Ruth Fields. Drive around the right side of the field and you'll see a little parking area with a large trash bin and a trailhead there. That's where we're gonna be starting off, so.
That's 4 o'clock.
And that's at 4 p.m. on April 27th, this Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, I walked down there yesterday for a little bit and got a lot of nice spring flowers, spring plants starting to pop up, trees starting to leaf out, so.
We got some interest last Tuesday at Earth Fest here at City Hall.
cool. Yeah, fantastic.
Yes. And thanks to Commissioner Siki for bringing the video,
Yes.
that has also been, I think, posted on the TV,
Yes, it's on their website.
on the website of the TV, so thank you to Leominster TV for that also, but Mike played it repeatedly on his computer.
Robert was kind enough to stay late at work and put something on
That was
a
awesome.
drive for me.
Okay, great. So that'll be great. Next on the agenda, there's nothing for certificate of compliance or extension permits. And Nick has an update under communications regarding 43 Stagecoach Road. Nick?
Yes, so we had talked about this a couple of times over the last few months. Without getting too deep into it, basically there's activity on this lot that the owner approached me about. I told him where he could do things and where our jurisdiction begins, because there's a large wetland system in the back of the lot. He began work on the construction of one of the houses he's planning on that site, which is outside of the buffer zone, so that's not our problem there. But in relation to that project and the eventual other house construction that he's planning for that site, there's been a lot of soil moved around, a lot of grading and excavation that does reach into the buffer zone. So the last time I had spoken with him, I had asked him to, it was still the winter time, the ground was pretty frozen, so I asked him to pull, once the weather got to a point where he was able to do this and the ground thawed out a little, to pull some of that material back, because it's like right up against the wetland flagging, so the boundary of the wetland that they have there. Asked him to pull some of that back, install erosion controls, and to leave it thereafter until he's able to submit an NOI for the work in the buffer zone. He did put those erosion controls in place as of April 11th, I believe, was the date that I went and visited the site. But they were not properly installed. For example, the silt fences were not dug into the ground. There were several areas where they were floating a few inches above the ground, so ineffective, just allowing whatever runoff to flow underneath them. So I've since sent him an email yesterday telling him what was unacceptable about the erosion controls and how he could fix them. And he emailed me today and said that I asked him to correct the erosion controls by this weekend at the latest. And he responded to me this morning and said that we are making adjustments to the silt fence in the next week or sooner. So I will get back to you guys with that. I'll check up on that either Friday or Monday morning to check the status of the erosion controls, and we'll go from there.
Who's
So,
the owner?
his name is Eric Lynn.
Do you need anything from the commission tonight?
No, just an update on it, because he did put those controls in that I asked him, but they were improper, so there's still issues with that site, but just letting you guys know what's the status, and that'll be going back. And he is still planning on he needs to submit an NOI for the rest of the work that needs to get done and the second house. He's planning on it's all one lot, he plans on subdividing it. He's got the one house almost completed, and the other is the footprint of the other house is well within the buffer zone, so he'll absolutely need an NOI before he starts work on that, but he's still planning on going forward with that, so.
Okay, any thoughts, questions from the commission? Okay, thank you very much, Nick. There are no meeting minutes to discuss tonight. The enforcement section for View Street, we already covered. No emergency certifications, budget discussion, or wetland ordinance discussion. Any other commissioner news? Commissioner Chambers.
I just like to have a question, regarding the March 28th meeting, we discussed, the property at 445 North Street, the chicken coop,
Yes.
and, did we give them a timeline on removal?
So we continued the hearing until the May 9th meeting. So at that time, I plan on, I'll be sending him an email reminder, just asking that he's gonna be asked to join us at that meeting, to continue the hearing for that. No problem.
Told me there was gonna be no discussion.
I drove by it today.
That was foul.
I am displeased.
No one said the C word.
Jim, you had to abstain that night because you had not seen things. If you do want to vote on that one, you're welcome to go and look back at the video
Yes.
of the meetings, see just those sections, not the whole meeting, just a fast forward to
Which
those
one?
sections of the 445 North Street.
I was there,
You missed the first one, though.
What's the
My
second?
note, my note has that you abstained on that vote to continue the hearing.
Oh, okay, that's.
Therefore, you were not present at the first one.
Right, that's right.
And I think I was sitting next to you and encouraged you, you can go look at the video, so here's your reminder. If you want to vote on it, you don't have to, but that's how you have your say. Our next meeting of the Leominster Conservation Commission will be on May 9th, 2023. Filing deadline is April 21st at noon, so you're too late. I'd like to take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So made.
So made by Commissioner Ridland. Do we have a second?
Well, I'll second it.
Thank you,
Celtics.
Commissioner Seekers.
Almost tip off.
And with that, Nick?
And I will take the rest of the commission's vote, by roll call. Jim Chambers,
Aye.
Bob Seacard, and Richard Bellick.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, this meeting is closed at 7:11 PM. Thank you.
Awesome.